Well, the president said he's thinking about it, but he hasn't made any firm decisions. Obviously, the China issue is a little bit more complicated because our relationship with China, it affects a lot of other things that have nothing to do with the Russian situation. So the president's reviewing his options and, of course, going to make that decision when he decides.
Amid escalating trade tensions, U.S. Vice President JD Vance said President Donald Trump is considering tariffs on China for buying Russian oil. The move would mirror new tariffs on India, announced last week, citing its continued imports of Russian oil. Vance, in an interview with Fox News, said that no final decision has been made, but the idea is under active discussion in Washington. The measure aims to pressure Beijing to cut energy trade with Moscow during the ongoing war in Ukraine. Washington has previously warned Beijing that such purchases undermine international efforts to isolate Russia economically. This as China has sharply increased imports of discounted Russian oil since 2022, offsetting Western sanctions. If enacted, this would escalate Trump's already hardline trade stance toward China.
One of the most important logjams is that Vladimir Putin said that he would never sit down with Zelensky, the head of Ukraine, and the president has now got that to change. We're at a point now where we're now trying to figure out, frankly, scheduling and things like that around when these three leaders could sit down and discuss an end to this conflict. Now, we're going to try to find some negotiated settlement that the Ukrainians and the Russians can live with, where they can live in relative peace, where the killing stops. It's not going to make anybody super happy. Both the Russians and the Ukrainians probably at the end of the day are going to be unhappy with it, but I don't think you can actually sit down and have this negotiation absent the leadership of Donald J. Trump. And I actually don't think it would be that productive. I think fundamentally the president of the United States has to be the one to kind of bring these two together. We're, of course, going to talk to the Ukrainians. I actually spoke with the Ukrainians this morning. Marco has been talking to them quite a bit. We're going to keep that dialogue open, but fundamentally, this is something where the president needs to force President Putin and President Zelensky really to sit down to figure out their differences. Well, the president said he's thinking about it, but he hasn't made any firm decisions. Obviously, the China issue is a little bit more complicated because our relationship with China, it affects a lot of other things that have nothing to do with the Russian situation. So the president's reviewing his options and, of course, going to make that decision when he decides.
Last week, Trump doubled tariffs on Indian goods to 50% over its refusal to halt Russian oil imports. The White House says the additional 25 percentage points will take effect on August 27th. Since 2022, Russia's share of India's total oil imports has reportedly surged from 1.7% to 35.1%, making it India's largest oil supplier.
I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you now. Do you want a big scoop?
Yes, please.
Everybody else, close your ears, okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
10 days from today.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
Good.
How do you communicate?
We have a scoop.
Thank you.
And then, we're going to put on tariffs and stuff, and I don't know if it's going to affect Russia, because he wants to obviously probably keep the war going. But we're going to put on tariffs and the various things that you put on. It may or may not affect them, but it could.